This past winter was cold. I know. It's cold every winter, Mr. Sharkey. Thank you, Mr. Internet Troll. This past winter, though, we saw single-digit freezing temperatures all the way down to the Texas-Mexico border. As you can imagine, this wreaks havoc on crops down there. Now here's a video of farmer Dale Murden cutting open a grapefruit and showing there's actually ice inside of it. This crop is ruined. Here's friend of the show, Michelle Martin, showing the damage from her farm down on the border. Now every industry has its risks, and many Americans gamble their financial well-being on the weather. But there's something to be said about seeing widespread crop damage that makes everyone pause. This past year was the first time for many that they saw empty grocery shelves. I'm not just talking about toilet paper, but meat and produce that just wasn't there. When you look around the world, we have it remarkably easy when it comes to access of food. Unfortunately, that can lead to a society taking that access for granted. As farmers, we can't just expect people to understand how devastating these weather events are. Everyone has their own lives to worry about. And don't just scoff at making fun of people that don't know where their food comes from past the grocery store. Do you really know how things work that are vital to your everyday life? Do you really know the inner workings of a cell phone? How the internet signal gets to your house? I mean, I appreciate electricity, but I don't spend my whole day worrying about the country's power grid. Agriculture can actually use weather events that cause widespread losses like freeze damage or the derecho that hit Iowa in 2020 as opportunities to remind people how lucky we all are to have a stable, safe, affordable food supply. We can do that, and we can all do it without being condescending. Well, what do you mean by being condescending? Y'all know what I mean. We can do it by being nice. This is a very random video. I asked her, what are you doing? And she just said, well, I'm trying to make the best of a blizzard and chores. And then she put the little laughing face emoji. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the older I get, it's more and more my goal not to fall down. Actually, I'd kind of like to see her jumping off the top of that tractor cab, and we could see if she bounces. I wonder if we put all these in reverse, if she just looked really, really athletic. Dang, that's impressive. The sequel to Fantasia is just weird. This Miss Piggy is looking fine as frog's hair. Of course, if Miss Piggy was rocking as much as this, she would have no trouble getting Kermit. She's not going to settle for that frog now. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. I mean, will RFD let us show this since she's topless? Now we're good. We're good. Okay. Look at her put that bucket on her head. She's a bit of a party girl, isn't she? When guilts go wild. This video is from Brenna Stevenson from Utah. Apparently, this is what people from Utah do. That's a chicken in a swimsuit. And yes, we actually had the discussion whether this was a swimsuit or a bikini. I think it's a one piece. It's nice, it's a little more modest that way. Dressing a chicken up in a swimsuit. Well, I guess she can check that off her bucket list. Then she could fill that bucket with 11 herbs and spices. Why did the chicken cross the road? Well, maybe to get away from people who were trying to put clothes on it. One of my very first podcasts I had with Carl Armstrong. He was a farmer from up in Canada somewhere. And at the end of it, he told one of the worst jokes I've ever heard. It's, why does a chicken coop have 2 doors? I said, why, Carl? He said, well, if it had 4, it would be a sedan. 4 doors, it would be a sedan instead of a coupe with 2 doors. It's a reference to car. It's a play on. What really annoyed me, what made me so mad, was all over social media. Everybody's like, oh, Carl, that's the funniest joke ever. Oh, Carl, you should be a comedian. Oh, Carl, you saved that interview with that joke. Carl. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny then. It's not funny now. But we'll say it, and then we'll get a bunch of emails saying how funny Carl is. Carl's not funny. Carl's never been funny. Here's a chicken in a swimsuit.
This week's machinery pick of the week is presented by John Deere.
This is what happens when you try to calibrate your TCM. I mean, we get a lot of stuck videos, but it's usually in a field. I think this qualifies as a lake or at least a pond. Probably got stuck because he had turf tires on. Or, again, maybe because he drove in a pond. I wonder if he'd remember to take his cell phone out of his pocket before he got in there. He's gonna have to put that in a bag of rice. It's a myth, by the way. The whole bag of rice, it's done by the rice growers. They do that on purpose. Actually, what you need to do is put your cell phone in a bag of soybeans instead of rice. Life hack. I really wish we had a video of this. Thanks for spending some time with us here on SharkFarmer TV. For more stories about people in agriculture, catch my shows on Rural Radio Channel 147 Sirius XM. There's more in-depth discussions on my podcast, and of course, you can check out previous episodes of this show on my YouTube channel. Find out more at sharkfarmer.com.